The criminals' conspiracy to take over the world dates back centuries. But how can one reach the top spot without removing the thorns that come up on his way to becoming a superpower, or a super-cartel rather? Interestingly, murderers murder their very own gang members if they fail to serve them well. Let's dive into today's video to have a closer look at one such murder mystery again: the Kinahan-Hutch feud. There have been 18 fatalities as a result of the Hutch-Kinahan feud, a significant ongoing conflict between two criminal organizations in the Republic of Ireland, the majority of which have been committed by the Kinahan family. The main players are the Kinahan family, led by Daniel Kinahan, and the Hutch gang, led by Gerry Hutch. The majority of the attacks have occurred in Dublin, with a few others occurring in other parts of Ireland and some in Spain, including the initial murder of Gerry Hutch, which started the feud. Despite the shooting in 2014, the conflict is generally regarded as having started in 2015 with the murder of Gerry Hutch in Marbella, Spain, and escalating following the February 2016 Dublin hotel attack. To combat crime gangs, particularly the Kinahan and Hutch gangs, a special crime task force was established within the National Drugs and Organized Crime Bureau in 2016, shortly after the attack on the Regency Hotel. The task force, which was manned by at least 10 Garda and 3 sergeants, were supposed to disband in 2021. However, even though at least 18 people were killed in the conflict and 50 additional murder attempts were thwarted thanks to their success, the task force will continue to operate. In their efforts to end the feud, as of June 2018, Garda had seized 456 firearms, 2.2 million euros in cash, and 64 million euros worth of drugs. Commentators have noted that the conflict emphasizes how difficult it is for An Garda Síochána to control Irish gangs with international organizational structures. The beginning, the murder of Gerry Hutch. The ongoing conflict was started by Gerry Hutch's murder at around 11:30 a.m. on September 24, 2015. Gerry Hutch was shot and killed at an apartment block in the Miraflores district of Marbella, Spain. Gerry was a native of Dublin's Champions Avenue and the nephew of Gerry the Monk Hutch, the boss of the Hutch crime family and a well-known felon in the city who had previously been convicted of armed robbery. However, by 2014, he was believed to be a police informant for the Spanish government. Additionally, he attempted to shoot a senior Kinahan gang member. Gerry Hutch allegedly conspired with Daniel Kinahan to have a close friend shot in a punishment shooting as payment for Gerry's alleged informant work. Gerry was just the beginning. Then their cunning eyes fell on Eddie. In February 2016, the Kinahan Cartel devised a plan to murder Gerry Hutch at the funeral home housing the remains of his brother Eddie. For the first time, the Irish Sun described how Spanish investigators learned that a gang veteran, 60, was going to be murdered as he paid respects to his innocent brother by an enforcer for Daniel Kinahan's mob. The enforcer, who was still a crucial member of the cartel and remained the target of the Drugs Enforcement Agency of the U.S. government, was also identified by detectives. The following was written in a file. Gerry Hutch attended the funeral home but did not attend Gerry Hutch's funeral. The enforcer for the Kinahan organized crime group was then believed to be in Ireland, according to intelligence. However, the evil scheme was dropped after Gardaí swarmed the North Inner City in the weeks following the slaying of taxi driver Eddie on February 8, 2016. It is thought that Eddie was attacked as direct retaliation for the murder of David Byrne 3 days prior. The monk did show up at his brother's funeral, but that would be his last public outing on Irish soil before he was accused of killing Byrne in court. According to one investigator, the intelligence gives an insight into what law enforcement agencies had to deal with at that time. Every bit of intelligence had to be examined to prevent killings, and safety measures had to be taken. Particularly after the Regency, the Kinahans were driven by a desire to murder Gerry Hutch and assembled all their most trusted men to attempt the deed. It just goes to show how desperate they were that they were willing to send a senior member to Dublin to take him out. When someone was at a funeral home paying their respects to a loved one, the cartel wouldn't hesitate to kill them. Investigators in Spain, Holland, and Ireland conducted an analysis of the strengths and weaknesses of both factions as part of their intelligence gathering in the days following Byrne's murder at the Regency Hotel on February 5, 2016. Due to the connections between the two Irish gangs and Spain, Holland, and the UK, law enforcement agencies in those nations collaborated closely. Gardaí learned that the Kinahan Cartel was attempting to obtain rocket launchers from Moroccan crime boss now Phi Fassi, who was then based in Amsterdam in the days following Eddie's murder. Additionally, they got word that the Hutch organized crime group was looking to buy more AK-47 assault rifles to fuel the ongoing conflict. Dissident Republicans in Porto Luís prison questioned their leaders outside about how the Hutch gang was able to obtain the assault rifles as a result of the Hutch gang's attempt to obtain them. According to rumors in Dublin's South Inner City, the gang led by David Byrne's brother Liam was said to possess AK-47s. The kind of weapons Liam Byrne had at his disposal was the subject of a lot of conversation at the time, a local recollected for us. Liam Byrne was a braggart with a big mouth who frequently bragged about his strength. Feud abuse. Locals from the Oliver Bond apartment block also related how Liam Byrne stopped a gunman from storming the Regency by squaring off with him. It was widely reported that Liam Byrne struck one of the shooters with a chair, according to another local. Byrne pulled off one of the shooter's masks, and he recognized him as a Hutch associate, according to his associates. Liam Byrne was eager to spread this message, even though it was never confirmed. Even though the gang war was occurring on Irish streets, Spanish police learned that notorious gangster John the Colonel Cunningham had advised Liam Byrne to curb his spending. Following David Byrne's extravagant funeral, and because Liam Byrne was still living the high life, Cunningham gave the warning in a phone call. Both factions' efforts to bring in the weapons failed as the conflict grew more intense. The Garda National Drugs and Organized Crime Bureau officers' January 2017 discovery of a weapons storage facility at the Green Oak Industrial Unit in Dublin further jeopardized the cartel's access to weapons. The GNDOCB investigators made additional mob arrests after that seizure, taking their cash and lethal weapons as well. After Eddie Hutch was killed, the cartel's foes began to worry that Fat Freddie Thompson would be killed by grenade attacks on his frequented pub. This concern grew as the weeks passed. The weapons Thompson had access to worried the Gardaí as well, and they feared that he might use them to target Jerry Hutch's associates in the North Inner City. In July 2016, when he was involved in the murder of Dathie Douglas, their worries about Thompson having a direct hand in the dispute came true. The cartel mistook Douglas for a member of the Hutch hit squad that had been dispatched to the Red Cow Hotel in November 2015 to kill important cartel figures, and as a result, they decided to target him. As part of Operation Raglan, Gardaí are still looking for Eddie Hutch's killers today, but they have not filed any charges. Since January 2018, there haven't been any murders in the conflict because the GNDOCB destroyed many of the cartel subcells that were enlisted to kill their rivals. Alan Wilson, who attempted to kill Gary Hanley, Padar Keating, who oversaw the operations of an OCG, and brothers Glenn and Gary Thompson, who attempted to murder Patsy Hutch, another brother of Jerry Hutch, are among the cartel members who have been imprisoned. And now that the Monk's trial is over, the U.S. government is continuing its efforts to bring down the Kinahan Cartel's leadership. That's it for today's video. What's your thought on such murder mysteries? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe for more.